About 7. What time you get up?
About 5:45.
Oh, my God.
Wife, when she works, it starts at 5:30. I'm like, damn. I'm hearing Potts works from home with the coffee and all that. I'm asleep.
Ouch.
Hey, I got to be negative, though. All this excitement has me watching the Minnesota Timberwolves, too, with young Ant-Man. Their pick panned out. Steiny, I'm jealous and envious of other teams like the Sharks that have a pick like this to get that new Steph Curry, if that makes any sense. So you said you were going to cheer us up with your Warrior takes. I'm here for it. But darn it, I wish the Warriors had. Like, I'm hoping they upset somehow in the lottery and get a top 4 pick and keep it, even if we know that the draft is not deep.
Yeah. So I was watching one of the things with the Warriors that, as we look to what they're going to do in the future, the one thing that I've struggled to account for and how it's going to look and how it's really going to go is, what is Steph Curry's role as the team moves into next year and the year after?
Got to be the best player.
See, that's where I think,
oh my gosh,
we got to. I'm looking at Minnesota last night, right? I'm looking at Minnesota, and I get it. They're different. But who's their point guard?
Conley.
Right. And what do they have around Mike Conley?
Youngsters.
Right. Well, they've got
shooters.
Yes, and they've got 2 wings, who are unbelievably athletic, and then they've got Cat and Cat's 28, and they've got Gobert's 31. So I get it. They have Anthony Edwards. But the bigger issue for me was, how is Steph Curry going to get older and the team get better?
Get more better supporting cast.
Well, yes, but also in that would be for Steph to kind of, he's going to have to be Mike Conley. You're not going to go get Kevin Durant and bring in, what do you mean, oh man? This is the thing I don't get.
No, when I hear Mike Conley and Steph Curry, it's like just the shock value. Like, what are we?
Hold on. I don't look. Steph's always going to score more.
Right.
I'm not saying he should average 9 a game.
Pencil him down for 25 next year at minimum.
Yeah, I'm just saying the role. Like, look at Mike Conley. He's 36 years old, and he's on a team with 2 guys who are 31 and 28, and a lot of young guys. And look how they're getting it done.
Gotcha.
So maybe not in a year, maybe in 2 years, Steph Curry isn't the player he is today or 2 years ago, but he's a really good player on a team with a bunch of weapons. And that's what the Warriors have to do. They've got to.
They don't have that luxury right now, Stein.
What do you mean?
LeBron went to L.A. and has said it. Anthony Davis, you can be the guy. I'll do my role. It'll still be spectacular, but we go through you. Steph doesn't have a guy right now that can make getting older easier. And it's actually affecting them to where it's wearing them down. My 2 cents.
And this is what I was talking about with Dunleavy. And let's say the Warriors are going to try to move Wiggins. So the Timberwolves have Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
I like him.
So do I. And they've got Jaden McDaniels.
Oh, man.
Okay, those are 2 vital pieces to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Preach.
They were part of 3-team trades in the past couple years. Nobody knew who they were. They were just players in a 3-team trade with Beasley and Westbrook and Conley was involved. They got Jaden McDaniels on a 3-team trade. It was Rubio and James Johnson. The trades barely made a ripple when they were made. Well, they did make a ripple because everybody was saying, it was about Westbrook.
Not these guys.
My point is you can get better by moving a guy like Wiggins, and I'm telling you, the move might be something that looks like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jaden McDaniels, but we're not going to know because they might be a year or two away from really popping, but those are the kind of players that you're going to need in 2 or 3 years. So, like, I don't know if it gives me hope, but I look at how many wings can you?
What if Moody is Alex? I'm looking at Uncle Looney. What if Looney ended up in a year or two being Alexander or giving you contributions like that? Like, I wouldn't rule that out. What I hear what you're saying, and you are right, but Steiny, it's almost like me telling you, hey, my car's not running well. I need a carburetor and spark plugs. Well, what's more important? The carburetor. And the carburetor in this instance, to me, is a bona fide number 2 score for the Warriors before we get to the Alexander guys.
But that's unrealistic right now with where the Warriors are. You've got 4 young players on this team. Maybe you move Wiggins for another young player or 2. And then you might not be able to get the number 2 guy this offseason. But here's what I think's a joke. Whenever I ask people, how long do you think Steph will play? How long do you think Steph will play?
I'm being honest with you, Steiny, at least 4 more years.
Okay, well then what's the rush this year? What is the rush to make it all happen this year? I get it. He's getting older. But if you're telling me he's going to play,
run him in the ground next year because you got no waiting on that.
You're not going to run him into the ground anymore.
All right.
You're not going to run him into the ground anymore. You can't. So if you think Steph can play 3 or 4 more years,
which I do,
it gives you, to me, 2 off seasons. It gives you this off season to do something, and then it gives you all next year to try to do something too. Now, again, it's going to be tough, but
so that has you feeling a little better. If going for the wing, guys, like you said, when that trade happened, we didn't
Exactly. And that's what Mike Dunleavy's going to have to do. Can he turn Wiggins into 2 players who are rotation guys who really help you?
Now, what if you can't? Let's say you move Wiggins and the guy, it's apparent whoever you get don't even equal Wiggins. It's just a bad fit. Then what are we left with?
Well, I'm going to assume that he's not going to bring a player in here who can't. I got to believe Mike Dunleavy looks at the Warriors and says, if we move Wiggins, we need a this and a that to get it. But we had Geltzeiler on yesterday.
Man, he was positive.
And we'll see what happens. But I looked at Minnesota, and they got 2 key components off trades that nobody thought anything of at the time. And that's, I think that's the way the Warriors are going to have to go about it. And I also think if they give themselves, if they don't constrain themselves to thinking they have to do something this summer, then it looks a lot better. Like if you don't put this constraint on the Warriors that we got to try to win a championship next year, that's when things look bright to me. But when you start talking about championship or bust, and we got to get a championship with Curry next year, that's unrealistic.
What do you think the killer in Joe Lacob is going to strive for? You think he can be put in a straitjacket and Dunleavy and his son Kirk tell him, hey, Dad, it ain't about next year? Kind of is, but the year after, is he one of those go-getters to where he's like, you know what? I see that vision. I'll kind of not sit it out, Steiny, but I'll be patient. I don't know.
I mean, I would, but that's me. 888-957-9570 is the number. Jocko's in San Francisco. What's up, Jocko? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Just listening to you guys. First off, I agree with you, Steiny, that I don't think there's a championship in the near future, especially next season. But some of the things they should have moved off of this core last year. So if I was running the team, my first order of business would be renouncing the rights to Clay. As much as it would hurt, they have to get the salaries under control. And then secondly, I would trade Draymond. It's just they're kind of trapped playing the way they play with him. And I think that they could trade him potentially to like the Lakers and get Rui and Bando, get some young, long, athletic guys in here for him and let Draymond go play with LeBron. Or potentially to a team like the Bucks for like a Bobby Portis and a Pat Connaughton. Just get some role players for him so they can turn the page. And then, you know, they would have to, they would have Moody and they would have Kuminga. And they would have Pods, and they would have TJD, and they would have some role players and some longer, more athletic guys, and just start rebuilding for the future and get them under the salary cap if they let Chris Paul walk. They would have the mid-level exemption and the vet min contracts to round out the roster. So that's kind of how I think they should have ripped the Band-Aid off last year.
Right.
Kind of disappointed that Lacob, you know, he's supposed to be like a poker player, but you got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them, and I think he held on a year too long.
Yeah,
Kenny Rogers. That's right.
I'm kind of with you there, Jocko. Thank you. It's hit me like a ton of bricks. It has hit me like a ton of bricks. I'll say it again. It's hit me like a ton of bricks.
We're all waiting. What's hit
here?
You?
It is. The reason that people perceive that I'm down on the Warriors is because you're making me look at it through a lens of we've got to win a title next year. And I can't get behind that. I can't. I don't see it, Bob.
Wow.
I don't, like, I've got to be realistic and say, you guys are crazy. But when I look at the Warriors' future in 2 or 3 years, then I'm like, they got some stuff to work with here. They got some stuff to work with. We're at the end of Curry almost. Okay, we are. Yeah. I get it. We're at the end of Curry, but if he's going to play 4 more years, then he's got 4 more years. And who cares if he wins it his last year as a Warrior, even if he's coming off the bench at that point. But I finally got it.
Now, what is Joe going to look at it as? We know where you stand, and that's the now, what was he disappointed in Joe's approach last year? Because when you talk about the Warriors and youth, and you do the TJD and the Pods and the Moody and Kuminga, Steiny, good God, I get it. I get why people are excited, but I guess, Steiny, I'm looking at it through the prism of a chip or getting as close to it as possible. Because of what's possibly left for Steph. What if my 4 is wrong and it's 3? You know?
Well, then he's going to probably just win 4 titles. Just.
Yeah.
Tommy on the YouTube text, but look around the league. In 2 years, are you competing with OKC, Boston, or Minnie?
Ah, man.
Hold on, though.
OKC won
2 years,
last night.
2 years is a long time. When we look to next, like there's one off season between now and next year.
Yeah.
There's too much to get done. There's too much improving you have to do. You can't cram it into one off season, I don't think. I just don't. And I wouldn't make a decision based on that all or nothing philosophy. I just wouldn't. I gotta trust Steph Curry's gonna play for a few more years and things are gonna change. But the bottom line is you'll have this off season. You'll have all of next season in the trade deadline, and then you'll have next off season. I'm not saying tank or anything like that. I'm saying you might be able to get better next year.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a couple new guys in here and you win 49 games. And now all of a sudden you can start talking serious run way more with more credibility than thinking you're going to go from a 10 seed to a championship team. So,
will you give me this though, just from a fan standpoint? Yeah. It is weird not having the Warriors in the playoffs, right? I mean, Stein, this is really. For me, it is. Every day is just a reminder.
Well,
I hit guide.
They've missed the postseason 3 of the last 5 years.
But one of those was guys were hurt, and you kind of understood it. You could process it better. This was a fail.
To me, it's like if you get injured or not, I mean, if you don't make the playoffs, you don't make the playoffs.
Well.
So, 888-957-9570 is the number. I got you feeling more optimistic, Warrior fans?
Oh, boy.
I'm telling you. It's not all or nothing this offseason. It's too unrealistic. Let's work on this thing over the next 2 years.
And what's the real reason that it's unrealistic? Like, what if they were able to get a LeBron? What if Joe went big game hunting like that?
It's not the way I would go.
Okay.
And I would also say, looking at these teams,
that's not the way you would go.
I don't think that's going to get it done. I think the best way to get it done is to put maybe younger guys around whoever's here.
So you're over the Wiggins thing. Like guys like that, you would move.
I would try to move Wiggins. Absolutely. All right. 888-957